Hey, it's Juck.
We got another black Tshabola! Hey, man, this guy has a lot of talent and works on to get better every day. Newest number in Zone 6, Mylan Graham!
First, I want to thank God, thank Coach Dad, Coach Hart for giving me the opportunity to be a Buckeye. Shout out my boys in the Zone 6 room for getting me better every day. Go Bucks.
Let's get it. And I don't think he's going to throw the ball as much as he thinks he's going to throw the ball now that Chip Kelly's on board. And I'm happy about that. More quarterback.
The truth is Ryan Day has made a change philosophically, but it's none of those.
You all know who wins. LSU is the drunkest fan base in the country. And welcome into Juckonbucks on a Friday morning. Appreciate you all so much. At 11 o'clock, the Menace to Sports show is going to roll into Yogi's on Hard Road. Doors open at 11. Show will start at noon. I'm going to be there. I hope to meet a couple of you guys, and it's going to be awesome. I just found out that my wife, Nina, is bringing two of her friends, so that's fantastic. But I get to meet my son down there. He lives in Dublin. Haven't seen him in a couple of weeks, so that'll be awesome. And also, I don't ever get to talk to other Buckeye fans who really are in the nitty gritty like we are. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, my friends, my family, they're Buckeye fans. But if I were to say to them something like, OG Walt is really killing it this cycle, they would have no clue what I'm talking about. Probably a lot of yours too. So it's always nice to meet some fellow psychos in the wild, because we're kind of nuts with the way we follow this team and the organization. And that's okay. Cooper Patania of 24/7 rolled out with the 2024 Team Talent Composite rankings. And this is a metric that factors in everything as far as, transfers in, transfers out, graduates, and it ranks your team talent composite based on the recruiting rankings. And for 7 years in a row, Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State have been at the top of this metric. And you needed to be in the top 10 of this for the last 10 years to win a national championship, all with the exception of one program, and that is Michigan last year when they won it with the number 14 most talented roster on the talent composite. So they are the one single outlier, and, take of that what you will. Patania says Ohio State's roster may be the best roster in the last 10 years. People expected Alabama's grip to loosen on the recruiting trail in the midst of the Nick Saban retirement. Kalen DeBoer and company had other plans as Alabama pursues another number one ranked recruiting class. And in case you were thinking there's going to be a shakeup at the top of the college football world after Michigan's national championship run last season, just remember that since the birth of the 14 playoff, Alabama, Georgia, or Ohio State have made an appearance in every college football playoffs. So Cooper Patania says, one of the most talented rosters in college football in the last 10 years. We saw Jim Tressel in Urban's comments as well. And a lot of people wondered, was Urban saying, does he mean the best Ohio State roster in the last 10 years, maybe ever? Or is he talking the best? Well, he confirmed that this week on a podcast.
Talent as far as depth. I talked to Jim Tressel about this. I've read about him. I've watched him. This might be the best roster in college football in the last decade. As far as NFL talent, as far as depth, you got the second string running back, whoever it is going to be probably a first-round draft pick. I mean, they are loaded. They got Will Howard is going to be a big question mark, but I think the combination of him and Chip Kelly, the new offense coordinator, they're married for each other. He's an athletic quarterback. He's surprisingly fast. I was told he ran 22 miles an hour at practice, which, you're a sub 4.5. That's fast. And he's a big dude. I think he's the perfect fit. Here's the challenge, and I want Mark's opinion on this. How do you keep all happy? Their schedule is kind of a joke early on. I mean, they're going to be 50-point favorites in the first 3 games. They have a bye week, and then they play Michigan State, which is a shell of himself right now. So the starters will probably play 30 to 40 plays in the first month of the season. That means statistically, they're not going to have many catches. The running backs are going to not have many carries because you're not going to play those guys in the second half of those games.
To me, Coach, it has to be everyone having the same mindset, which is, why did every single one of you guys come here to Ohio State? Is to win a championship.
So interesting points and interesting topics of discussion there by Herbs, but he makes it clear there. He's not talking about the best Ohio State roster. He's talking about the whole shebang. Might be the best. And I've seen a lot of people going through and saying, now hold on a second. This isn't even the best Ohio State roster in the last 5 years. Look at 2019. And they were going down position group by position group and basically doing a little checklist. Quarterback, no. Running back, yes. Wide receiver, yes. Defensive line, no. Linebackers, maybe. Cornerbacks, no. And I saw this all over the place. And I think that the big difference of what Urban is saying here in the way, he's not looking at it like that. He's looking at it like, I walked into the Woody, and when those seniors returned, you basically took what would have been all those seniors and made them backups. So he's walking in there and he's just looking at this collection of old, ready-made talent, a bunch of guys that should be in the NFL and a bunch of guys that should be starting at Ohio State as their backups, and going, whoa. And when you look at that Michigan team, right, that ranked 14th, what we remember about that team is how old they were, right? When you've got this age in a college program, that is really what makes kind of the difference here for me when we talk about how talented this roster is. And now that we've pretty much got the lineup figured out, we know all the questions have been answered. I want to just kind of go through the lineup. And as we're going through the 2 deep, just kind of throw in who was the 2019 starters in 2 deep, and kind of compare these groups. So quarterback, as of now, obviously we're going to enter the season with Will Howard, who Herb thinks is a perfect marriage. I totally agree with Chip Kelly. Don't know if he said sub 4.5. Do you think Will Howard is sub 4.5? Like, that would blow my mind. That's fast for sure. I don't know. I just can't see it. I would love to see it, but I just can't see it. Anyway, Will Howard, Devin Brown. If Julian ends up taking that number 2 spot, which I think Ryan Day wants, and just to be clear, I think he knows he's not ready yet, but I think ultimately he wants him to be in that spot. I just feel like he is so enamored with his tools that's what he'd prefer, but I don't know how they make that happen without him really getting any snaps. So we got a lot of what ifs happen this year. Like, when do they turn to quarterback number 2 in these games that are blowouts? Herb was saying the second half, those guys aren't going to play, the starters. It's going to be interesting. In the past, we've seen them play these guys much later than I think a lot of us thought they should have against some of these cream puffs. And then when you would get the backup quarterback in, totally shut down the playbook. You know what I mean? Just run out the clock. So what I would love to see is when they bring him in, really keep the pedal to the metal, run the offense, let him run the offense. Who cares about running up the score? This isn't about being polite. You got to get your guys ready in case something happens. And moving forward with this quarterback room, it's going to be really important. When do they bring in number 3? Are they going to bring in Julian? Or we've heard a lot about Lincoln. Chip was talking about Lincoln the other day. Are they going to bring in Lincoln? Are they going to try to keep Lincoln happy to try to keep him around next year? Because this room is going to be so young. I think a lot of people think Devin is going to leave, right? Like, a lot of people are of that opinion that Devin is going to leave next year because of the way Ryan Day clearly feels about Julian Sayin. Also, Air's really been, improving a ton. There's no doubt about that. You can't deny that. Definitely changed his body. So you got a heck of a competition going on next year. Devin Brown, most people that are close to Devin Brown, I get the feeling think that he's going to leave. But what if Will gets injured and Devin balls out and now he comes in and he's the veteran? Does he stick around for the competition, or is he auditioning for somebody else? There's a whole lot of questions, but next year's quarterback competition is going to be crazy. But do you try to keep Lincoln around? I think you do. I don't know at what expense, though. do you want to give him snaps when you could be giving them to Julian? Whole lot of questions, man. It's just going to be really exciting to see the way this plays out in the boring part of the season, in these big blowout games. Like, how are they going to manage this? And I got the feeling like we're going to come out of these games early on talking just as much about how they manage that as everything else with the starters, because it is quite interesting and it's really important. So, talking about all those quarterbacks, going back to 2019, you had Fields chugging off, and who else did you have? Let me look at this roster. You had Gunnar Hoke. So Fields, Gunnar Hoke, and chugging off. So, to Urban's point here, if you're looking at this group of quarterbacks and those three, like, wow, what a difference, right? The 2024 running back room, Quinshawn, Travion, and James Peoples, who is absolutely blowing people away. James Peoples is a guy that I think we all thought, just based off his high school film, was going to come in and kind of be a ready-to-play guy. Just already physically ready, huge legs, quick, got a great attitude, and he's really showing out, absolutely showing out, feeling great about him. I think he's going to get a whole lot of carries, and it's great that he's ready to go. I don't think that Sam Williams-Dixon has shown the consistency that inspires that confidence yet, but the good news is, in these blowouts, we're going to see plenty of him as well, so he's going to get some real live work. If we look at 2019's running back room, you had JK, and, you can say, all right, JK, even to Trey or Quinn. All right, fair enough. But then you had DeMario McCall, Master Teague in his second year, and Steel Chambers. So not even close. The 24 room blows that room away. Wide receiver. This year, we got Emeka Ibuka, Carnell Tate, J.J. Smith, Brandon Innes as our top four. I think Emeka is going to lead the team in receptions. I think Carnell is going to lead the team in receiving yards. And I think JJ is going to lead the team in touchdowns. That'll be the first time since 2017 that a different Buckeye receiver has led in each one of those categories. I think JJ is going to be the talk of the country throughout the first half of the season as the rest of the country gets to know just what a freakazoid he is. Maybe the single most talked about guy outside of quarterback the entire season. And he's definitely going to cement himself in to the general public as an absolute potential top 5 overall pick, right? I think Emeka is going to cement himself as a first rounder this year, and Carnell Tate is going to announce himself as another future star that I think a lot of people, because he's such a quiet guy, kind of overlooked. And I really got that impression when talking to some people this offseason who really seemed to think for some reason that he was some kind of bust last year. Not Ohio State fans, but folks from the outside who had heard his name coming in and maybe thought that he didn't do much his freshman year, when in fact he did more than a lot of the Ohio State receivers their freshman year who went on to be first round draft picks. So in addition to those guys, I think we see enough out of Brandon Innes to realize he's definitely a first round type of guy too. And that's the top 4. Now let's take a look at 2019. What do we got? You had Chris Olave as a sophomore, Garrett Wilson as a freshman. Then you had Austin Mack and KJ Hill, Benjamin Victor. Yeah, this is a 24 victory here. That 5 spot here, it gets, there's a drop off, but you got Bryson Rogers, you got Jaden Ballard, you got Kojo. Maybe the way they've been talking about him is surprising stuff. And I just think overall, when you're talking about Olave and Garrett being so young, I don't think this is a contest here. I'm going with 24 myself. Who you got? All right, tight ends. Ryan's comments the other day, I really think that Will Kazmarek is the guy we're going to see most in 11 personnel. I think he is going to be the guy who kind of supplants G as the starter. And that's just what I think is going to happen here. But when you look at 2019's receiver room, you had Jeremy Ruckert, you had Luke Farrell, you had Rashad Berry. And you can say, in my opinion, that Jeremy Ruckert as a sophomore, Jelani Thurman as a sophomore, those two kind of cancel each other out. Luke Farrell versus Will Kazmarek. I think by the end of the season, we're going to say that's pretty similar. I don't know. These rooms are kind of a wash to me. But how much do we get to see Jelani Thurman? Can they get him ready by halfway through the season? Can he be ready for that crazy stretch at the end of the year? I think that's going to be so crucial. And the good news, like Urban was talking about, is he's going to get a lot of playing time early on. Those first 4 games, we should see a lot of Jelani Thurman late in games, and he's going to need it. Offensive line, I think when you're comparing to 2019, initially you would think, well, 2019 is going to blow this away. You got Simmons, left tackle, Donovan Jackson, left guard, Seth McLaughlin at center, Tegra and Josh Fryer are going to make up the right side. And that's going to mean there are 3 returning starters from the 2023 offensive line, 2 of which are the Josh and Josh. And they have made huge strides, the 2 of them. Both of them physically. Josh Simmons losing a ton of body fat. He was already athletic. He's even looking more athletic now, cementing himself as a high-round draft pick. And that's excellent. Josh Fryer winning back-to-back Iron Buckeyes, the only guy on the team to win it twice. Tremendous effort from him. Your backup tackles are going to be Zen Mikulski and George Fitzpatrick. Backup guards, Austin Seerveld, who's really been turning heads and making a big impact in the Woody. And I think that Carson Hinsman is probably going to be your first interior guy up, whether it's at center or guard. Luke Montgomery making some strides, playing some center, learning that, so he knows guard and center as well. I don't think the depth is that bad inside. I think you're looking okay. It's the tackle depth that's a little scary. But 2019 on the left-hand side of the line, you had Thayer Munford, you had Jonah Jackson. Are they better than Simmons and Donovan on the left side? You had Josh Myers at center. I'm definitely giving the nod to 2019. And then on the right-hand side, you had Wyatt Davis and Brandon Bowen. So all in all, I'm giving the nod to 2019, but I don't think it's as big as people are making it out to be. On defense, the defensive ends in the 2024 roster are going to be Jack Sawyer, JT, and I'm looking for a huge season from Jack. I got him at over 10 sacks. Inside, you got TNT. Ty and Tyleek are calling themselves TNT, and I love it, though they did not know the song, according to Tom Orr, which is hilarious. They did not know the AC/DC song. So once they hear that, they're really going to embrace that nickname for sure, because that one will get you pumped up, buddy. Second defensive ends, Kenyatta, Caden Curry, and Mitchell Melton. And I think Mitchell Melton's going to get a substantial amount of playing time. Inside, you got Caden Curry. You got Caden McDonald. You've got Jason Moore. You've got Hero Canoe. That's pretty stout, man. In 2019, defensive ends, you had Tyreek Smith as a sophomore, Zach Harrison as a freshman, Chase Young, Javonte John Pipp, JJB. And tackles, you had Devon Hamilton, BB Landers, Jay-Sean Cornell, and Haskell Garrett. I'm taking 24. I just think the 24 is much older, more talented inside. And Chase to me is just like, you can say that if you have Chase, you can probably, who cares about a lot of the depth? You could probably knock out JTT and Jack with Chase. Like, how much is he worth, right? But I just feel like the depth of 2019 or 2024, if you use it properly, is killer. So I'm going to go with 24. At linebacker in 24, you've got Cody Simon, Sonny Styles, Arvell Reese, CJ Hicks, Gabe Powers, a plethora of riches. And James says he is going to play them. Well, he's playing them now, just like he said he would. He's going to play them. Whoever's making plays is going to be the guy who's starting next week. We saw him do it. Scrimmage number 1. Arvell Reese wins the silver bullet of the day for the defense. So, of course, for the defense. So he comes back in scrimmage number 2. Who's playing a bunch of reps with the ones? Young Arvell Reese at Mike. That's fantastic. I love the way he's doing that. I think it's the best way to keep guys motivated, engaged, and get the best play for the team. So it's a fantastic way to go about it. We saw Sonny Styles and CJ Hicks both be nominated for that preseason All-American award. Cody Simon got shunned. Of course he did, because he's quiet. Nobody paying much attention to Cody. I think that Cody, who is our Bill Willis Blocko Award winner, is actually he's my candidate for a preseason All-American award. I'm going to put him on that list myself. In 2019, you had Pete Werner and Tuff Borland, Justin Hilliard and Baron Browning. And Baron Browning, obviously a super stud. The way they used him sure wasn't. But I'm going to go with 2024. I just think the room's deeper and ultimately has a much higher ceiling. Okay, secondary of 2024, we've got Denzel Burke, IGB, Jordan Hancock, Caleb Downs, Lathan Ransom. Wow. Backing up those cornerbacks, you got Calvin Simpson Hunt and Jermaine Matthews. The safeties, Malik Hartford, Jalen McClain, Jaden Bonds, who sounds like maybe he's fallen back a little bit behind Jalen McClain. But, you got some young safeties. But the corners, man, those are NFL corners that are coming off on the 2 deep right there. And that's pretty exciting. Backing up nickel, you're going to have Lorenzo Styles. I think Caleb Downs is the best football player on the team and maybe one of the best in the country. And he makes a whole heck of a lot of difference. Pairing him with 2 first-round corners in Denzel and IGB, that's really high-end talent. In 2019, you also had some high-end talent. And Damon Arnett, Jeff Okuda, Sean Wade, and Jordan Fuller. But 24, to me, is going to get the safety edge. 2019 is going to get the corner edge just barely with Okuda and Arnett for the starters. But then when you add in the guys on the 2 deep, in 2019, you had Sevyn Banks, Cam Brown, Amir Reep, Marcus Williamson. Like, it's not close. The corners in 2024 with Jermaine Matthews and Calvin Simpson Hunt coming off the bench. Aaron Scott, like, come on. Bryce West, it's not close. Give me 24. And that's it. So there we have it. And I think that now, looking at the entire roster, I've made Urban's case that 2024 certainly goes way deeper. And when you compare it to 2019, they win every group outside of offensive line and tight end, but that's even up for debate. Some people could debate it. And I don't even think the offensive line win by 2019 is as big as some would think. And I think the gap will even close as we play the season. So there we have it. Urban's case is closed.
This might be the best roster in college football in the last decade.
On we roll. I won't say it. I won't season of dreams. I won't say it. I know some of you get irritated into the season of dreams. Jayvon McFadden has announced that he is going to declare his college of choice on Saturday, and that's going to come down to Maryland, Colorado, or Ohio State. And this is going to be a win-win. We're going to go live. We were already going to go live for a post-game show for Florida State and Georgia Tech. We will plan this around now Jayvon McFadden's announcement, regardless of when that game is, because this one's more important than a post-game show for Florida State and Georgia Tech. This is a big deal. We need this guy, and he is look, let's just watch him first so you can see who we're talking about here instead of just looking at the recruiting rank, and then we'll pull that up. And you can see right off the rip, I mean, the dude's a dog, okay? He wants the violence. You can see his feet. That is a good-looking lineman there. He's got the prerequisite size listed at 6'5", 300. I don't believe he's 6'5", but regardless, you can see him getting in there. He's enjoying the competition. Look at the feet. Quick feet. Definitely quick feet. He's laughing. He's talking. I like it. Every chef needs ingredients. Give a good offensive line coach 5 of those dudes with that kind of attitude, the prerequisite size, the prerequisite foot speed, and you can make yourself a fantastic offensive line. So I want the guy big time. And it's not just because we need a body, which we do. I think he's a quality offensive lineman, despite the fact that he's only a 3-star in the composite, 469 in the country. I think they've gone out and found themselves a good offensive lineman, done their own evaluation on him, and they like him. So I like him, and I want him. And he's going to announce on Saturday. Iowa head coach Kirk Ferentz and the quarterback coach for the Hawkeyes are going to serve a 1-game suspension that Iowa has self-imposed on the 2 of those guys for tampering. It's a level 2 violation. Kirk Ferentz apologized. He said he asked the team to follow the rules. And in 26 years, this is the first time he's failed, but he did fail. It's his first level 2 violation that he's been accused of. And this is about Cade McNamara. Cade McNamara, former Michigan quarterback who transferred into Iowa, said on a podcast, got his own coach popped. He said on a podcast, he knew where he was going before he entered the portal. I'm sure there was some more to it than that. But the point is, they self-imposed this, and a lot of people are thinking, because the NCAA hasn't really been enforcing this, Pete Thamel, one of them, that maybe the NCAA is about to, and they know something ahead of time, so they're getting out in front of it. I would love for the NCAA to enforce this. I know a lot of people think that this is something that is not that big of a deal, or maybe advantageous to us as Ohio State fans, because when you look at a year like next year, when we're going to need an offensive lineman out of the portal, at least one, that you can go ahead and then go get in the portal or entice somebody into the portal from another school. And, it's against the rules for one, but I think that this actually hurts us more than it helps us, because when you look at our depth, when you look at the guys we recruit, quality 4-star guys who often have to sit for several years, who may think that they belong playing somewhere, those are the type of guys that we see leave in the portal. That's our depth. Those are guys that are getting tampered with in a lot of cases, I'm sure. And I would venture to guess that there have been a whole lot more instances of us getting a player on our roster tampered with than we've gone out and tampered with anybody else. So ultimately, this hurts us more than it helps us. I wish the NCAA would enforce it more. We saw a self-reported case that the Buckeyes self-reported. A player announced on Twitter that he was going to enter the portal, and the coach got a hold of him before the next morning when he actually did enter the portal. So the Buckeyes are self-reporting these little violations like that. We know that the Buckeyes self-report a lot of stuff. A lot of schools don't. I mean, kudos to Iowa for doing this. I don't think they needed to. I don't know, man. I don't imagine that they're actually going to start enforcing this, just because it seems like ever since that Tennessee ruling, which had to do with NIL, a lot of people think the NCAA is toothless. Now, they're not. They can enforce their rules. They've just chosen to sit on the sidelines ever since that Tennessee ruling. But that has to do with NIL deals, and this doesn't. This is something different. Ironically, this comes on the same day that Miami of Ohio, their head coach, was giving an interview, and he said this about Graham Nicholson.
Kicker Carter McLaughlin.
He's at. We didn't lose him. He's at Alabama. We know
Yeah,
exactly.
I understand
We know exactly
that.
where he's at. You media people, it's all pretend. No, Alabama stole our kicker.
Yes,
they illegally recruited
I didn't want to say it,
They
Coach.
illegally recruited our kicker and stole him from us. And that's a fact. But that's but we act like it's not. We live in this la world. Hey, let's not talk. I don't know why everybody knows what's going on. So, yeah, Alabama stole our kicker. A couple other schools tried to steal it, but then okay. What's the question?
Let's talk about. All right.
Graham Nicholson, their excellent kicker, who Alabama clearly lured into the portal. And we see so many guys in that portal with the do not contact tag against their on their name. Obviously, we know what happened, and I wish they would get this together. I think it's one of the I know that everybody agrees for the most part that we want players to be able to transfer at least one time without penalty. Most people agree with that. You go somewhere, you realize that maybe I'm just not good enough to ever play here. We don't want them to waste their entire career sitting on somebody's roster. Go play somewhere else, drop down a level. Or if you go somewhere and you play out of your mind and you want to go up a level, I think we all agree, one time without penalty, that's fine. But this kind of stuff, this could be players who are perfectly content where they're at. And now you got schools just luring them in there, which creates more transfers, which is not good for anybody. It's not good for college football in general. It's not good for the audience, the fans who want to know players on a team from year to year. Again, this is why college basketball, and this is related more to the one and done, but this is why college basketball is not anywhere near as popular as it used to be, because fans want to know players on teams year over year. You want to identify players with teams, not just your own, but with other teams. The transfer portal makes it tougher. So this is a bad thing. It's a scourge in the game. I wish that they would get some investigation and really get on this. And we'll see if Thamel's right or not. I hope that he is. All right, we had some press conferences today, and coming in to join us, Dillon Davis. And Dillon, welcome back to the show. Appreciate you, buddy.
Glad to be here. I always enjoy joining with you. So yeah, glad to be here. Let's get at it.
The Juckonbucks really enjoy your commentary here, but we got to hear from Ryan Day today, Justin Frye, the offensive line. Let's start with Ryan Day. What did he have to say today?
I think probably the two most pressing things that anybody asked Ryan Day today was about, a couple position battles that haven't been shored up yet, or maybe they're starting to get shored up. Obviously, that's at the will linebacker spot with Sonny, and then that right guard spot, which sounds like Tegra is starting to, take the lead on that. Ryan mentioned they're having a mock game on Saturday in the Horseshoe, which will go a long way in solidifying those spots. Which they've done in years past, just kind of like a run through. But it's not a walkthrough. It's not they're practicing. There will be some battles won on Saturday. So I think it was probably the two most pressing things. Sonny sounds like he's just taking a hold of that job. He's getting more and more comfortable playing that close to the line of scrimmage and being a linebacker. Certainly physically we know what he is. So I tell you what, the Sonny hype should start ramping up, because if he's the only thing holding him back is just being comfortable playing the position, and it's obviously a little bit different. James Larned has talked about that when we got him earlier in camp, that you can't cross your feet as a linebacker. You can't cross over because, that's going to get you killed, and you're going to find yourself out of position. So those kind of things, just the technique of playing linebacker, if he's getting that, if he's comfortable doing that with the athleticism that he has and the size and the speed, it's just got, I hate to say this because this is one of Ryan Day's, favorite things to say, the sky's the limit. What does that even, look like? But truly, there's no ceiling for Sonny Styles if he's starting to get comfortable, and it sounds like he's starting to win that will spot. What that means for CJ Hicks, I don't know. I don't know if that's because they're doing a little bit different things with CJ. I don't know. I know CJ's going to play. I don't know if that means that he'll just be in a bit of a rotation with Sonny, or they've got some different things. Like I said, I know Jim will get him on the field, but yeah, Sonny Styles coming on at linebacker, big development, and then Tegra. Tegra, we talked about this when I was on earlier in camp, and I thought maybe Carson Hinsman would be that guy just for his experience. You said, you thought maybe it would be Tegra. I don't know how much of that sickness that went through the offensive line room, how much that affected Carson, because he was one of the guys that wasn't on the field. Right. But make no mistake about it, Tegra's done everything he can to go be a starter at Ohio State. And it sounds like he's darn close to doing that. Depending on, Ryan said that what happens on Saturday would go a long way in, making those final decisions. But with a good day on Saturday, it sounds like Tegra is going to start at right guard. And he's done everything he can to earn that. So happy for Tegra. Got a chance to talk to him tonight. Man, just a massive human being. And if he's ready to go, then that's a great development for Ohio State.
I want to play a clip that you asked Tegra.
How valuable is a guy like Donovan Jackson to have that to lean on?
Oh, like the older guys we got on this team, it's crazy. Like the amount of knowledge that they have, the amount of game knowledge, the amount of just season knowledge. I haven't played a full season yet. I haven't played basically more than a half yet. When you got guys like Donnie, guys like Josh, that helps a crazy amount.
Tegra, how much?
Like, for starters, I just, what a likable young man. He's just so smart. He's so nice. You see him on the field in his high school film, Dillon. The kid's a madman. It's like a switch turns. He's kicking the ground. He's kicking the dirt. He's a wild man out there. It's so strange, but I just love it. Like you said, he's absolutely enormous. Chip's statement about what do you say? Big people move small people. We like big people.
Simple as that. Yeah.
It's pretty exciting. And, we all thought coming into this, Carson Hinsman, a little bit smaller, a little more Chip style. And when Chip said that, it kind of surprised me. I didn't think that he was really liking a 6'6", 330-pound guard. But, he's changed some things for sure. He's changing his style. And if Tegra appeals to him, that's great. But to see that he's being really inquisitive. I also heard somebody say, I don't know if it was Fryer, but talking about Seth being the guy that they're all going to and they're all asking questions, which I just find amazing for a guy that just got in here. Did you get to hear from McLaughlin?
Yeah, I talked to Seth a little bit. Look, he made it earlier in camp that Seth's been the most consistent offensive lineman they've had. And we know from an experience standpoint that he's played a lot of football at a high level too, in terms of, where he played at, and at a high level in terms of performance as well. People are awful hard on Seth just because of the snap issues, that he had, for whatever that was, whether it was the yips or I don't know, but, assuming those aren't a thing, Seth played some good football again. I mentioned in the spring that I thought he played really well against Georgia in that SEC title game. I'm just going back and watching that. So Ryan said that he's the most consistent guy they've had, and then he's played a ton of football. So why wouldn't those guys go lean on that? I mean, yeah, he hasn't been in the Ohio State program before, but if there's any other program where you could kind of, somewhat call it apples to apples, it's Alabama in terms of talent and expectations of the guys you're going against in practice. And those things. So, why wouldn't he be a big resource? And then as Tegra said, there's a lot of resources on that offensive line. I got to talk to Seth a little bit. Sounds like he settled it nicely. Just a really well-spoken, soft-spoken, just a truly nice guy, he seems like. So I think it's a great addition to the program.
You talked to Josh Fryer too, and he talked about having a chip on their shoulder collectively as a group.
Chip on our shoulder. I think Seth talks about it best. I think it's what drives us. Seth's supposed to be the worst center in the country. I'm supposed to be. People don't like me as right tackle. Tegra's slow. Donnie's supposed to be gone in the NFL. Josh Simmons doesn't know what he's doing. Like, everybody has an opinion about us, but I can't say the metaphor to that, but it's an opinion, so I don't really care about it.
I love that attitude for these guys. I mean, and it's true. People certainly pounded on him all last year and in the offseason, wanted a transfer very bad. People were furious that they didn't bring in a transfer to replace Josh Fryer. What's he do? Goes out and wins the Iron Buckeye in the spring, one of just 3 guys, one of 10 in the fall. Pretty impressive stuff. I'm really rooting for him. I don't think he was nearly as bad as people make him out to be last year. I like what this unit has going on. I like the attitude. I feel like they're come together. You got to talk to Justin Frye today. Anything in particular that stood out to you from that conversation?
No, not a whole lot. I didn't get to talk to Frye a ton, just because, as I've said before, as quickly as one guy sits down at the table to talk, somebody else does, and as a one-man show, I have to prioritize who I want to talk to and where I want to go. And sure enough, Frye sat down, and just a minute later, Tegra sat down, and I went to go talk to Tegra. So didn't get a chance to talk to Frye a ton. So I couldn't really speak on a whole lot that he said. Just in general, the part that I was there talking about the right guard spot, and he kind of echoed what Ryan said about, Tegra being in a position to play this year. How much that is, we'll see. But I didn't get a chance to talk to him a whole lot.
You told us earlier, maybe 2 times ago on the show, to look out for Mylan Graham. Mylan loses his black stripe yesterday. Ryan Day said something about Mylan today. I didn't quite hear it. I didn't have enough time to check out the press conference before you came on.
So
I did see. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I did mention Mylan Graham, and again, that's not like everybody knows how talented Mylan is.
Yeah.
But there's talented, and then there's guys who could contribute right away and be difference makers right away. And I mentioned that maybe, as we were talking about at the time, receiver depth starting to materialize, that maybe Mylan, could be one of those guys that rounds out that depth chart in terms of guys that are actually going to see the field and contribute this year. So Mylan has his black stripe removed. Obviously a good sign. We saw some Mylan in practice, and we saw some glimpses of why he was such a highly touted recruit and what makes him a future star at Ohio State, to be honest, the next in line in that room. And then Ryan was asked about Mylan today, and I thought Ryan's answer was really good. It's probably the best, way to kind of maybe set up the expectations for Mylan this year, that Mylan's coming on and he's making plays, but Mylan obviously getting to Ohio State so late, kind of hurts his, his chances of playing right away this year. But he said, now once Mylan gets more practice time, maybe 4, 5, 6 weeks into the season. Maybe he gets a few reps, at the end of blowouts and things like that, and you start stacking those. Then all of a sudden, maybe Mylan's a guy in the second half of the season or the last third of the season who is ready to actually contribute in key spots. Not unlike some guys that we've seen before. Obviously, we think about Emeka and Marvin; they were thrust into that Rose Bowl and whatnot. Were those guys ready to do what they did in that Rose Bowl week 1? No. But just as they stacked days, stacked weeks, and got some reps here and there and whatnot, that set them up to be able to go out and show out in that Rose Bowl. So maybe that kind of trajectory for Mylan Graham this year is what you could expect, and that's what Ryan said. So, but I'm telling you, I mean, just from a physical standpoint, like the guy's just about ready to play now. Like he might not be the physical specimen that JJ is. Not a lot of people are, especially. but for physically, he's still ready to play. His athleticism, he's about ready to play now, and it's just about being comfortable and learning those route trees and the intricacies of being a receiver at that level, blocking and those things. So he's not far off. He's really not that far off. And certainly injuries can, force everybody to move on the depth chart. So, and he's not that far away.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised to see him, like you said, towards the end of the season, really moving up that chart. But you see the seriousness. I mean, the guy is never a smile on his face, always about his business. Hartline said that he gets on himself so hard that he has to try to pull him out of it because he gets on himself so hard. Obviously, you love to see that from a guy just walking in the door. So good stuff with him. But one of the reasons I really enjoy you on the beat is you get to some questions that I don't think a lot of people get to. It's always serious. And you asked Josh Fryer something that I wanted to play for everybody. I felt this was just a really heartfelt answer, and I really liked it.
I guess, how would you characterize the experience of being an Ohio State football player? Obviously, this fan base is rabid. It's huge. They're loud and vocal. But there's a good and a bad side of this, an ugly side of that you've seen. So how would you characterize being a Buckeye and just experiencing that?
When it's good, it's really good. When it's bad, it's bad. But at the same time, it's fun. I didn't expect this as a college football player, but at the same time, now I understand what it's about, and it's different. It's completely different from high school. So, yeah.
What led to you asking that question?
Well, it was actually somebody else who as a matter of fact, it was a little bit after the when he started talking about just all the disrespect and all the things that have been said about them as an offensive line unit. And he made the comment in there. I didn't put the video on Twitter, but he made the comment about I alluded to it in that tweet about the things that he got in DMs, whether it was Instagram or Twitter or whatnot, and the things his girlfriend got about him. A woman who has nothing to do with what he does or doesn't do on the field, and the things that she was getting. On social media and whatnot. And I got to thinking about that. This is a conversation I don't shy away from, about the Ohio State fan base, by and large, as a whole and whatnot. But in that moment, I got to thinking back about just in my time being on the beat, and some of the things that some of the players that I've seen and heard from about the ways that they were disrespected in their experiences as starting football players at Ohio State, and kind of just and again got lost in that moment and thought, you come to Ohio State for a lot of reasons: the education, the tradition of being a Buckeye, and certainly hopefully putting you on a the fast track to go into the NFL. But at the end of the day, you're 18 to 22-year-old kids playing, a football game that you're not ready to give up yet. Some will go on to play the NFL great and whatnot. But you're just there going to school and playing football. And then you got people who just make life miserable for these guys. Mind you, for a team that was very good last year, but not up to, the standard at Ohio State, and I get that. But so I thought, I'm just going to, ask him, what's his experience like? Just, I'm just curious as a football player, a guy heading into his second year as a starter at Ohio State, which in and of itself, I don't care what you think of the play, the level of play or how he's done. The fact that you're going into being a multi-year starter at the Ohio State University is incredible stuff. And, that's not me being an apologist for Josh. I think there were times last year we needed to be better, but I also agree that the discourse around him and a lot of that offensive line group was a little overblown. But I'm not being an apologist, but just at the end of the day, that's a fact. That's a fact. That being a starter at that place is truly a crazy accomplishment in the grand scheme of things. So I asked him just what his experience was at being a Buckeye, because I was kind of curious. He seemed like he was, I don't want to say vulnerable is the right word, but he seemed like he was willing to, open up about it and be candid about it, at least as candid as he can be without completely sounding off. So I asked him about that, and, that was his response, and it was about what I would expect. Unfortunately, it's sad. It's a sad reality of, being at a place like Ohio State, which does not make it okay at all. But that's what happens. I thought, well, when I was driving home, because I that was probably one of my favorite sound bites that I got tonight, just in terms of being able to talk to a guy, and we talk about X's and O's and things like that. But I enjoy talking about those kind of things that, like as you mentioned, that you don't, talk to these guys about a lot. And I was thinking about it, and I really thought back to CJ Stroud's experience at this place, and how he was treated by a fan base, which, oh, by the way, probably 90% of those fans love to tell their, buddies of other teams, like, hey, CJ Stroud's a Buckeye, while they were trashing him, for years, while he was in Scarlet and Gray and in Columbus. And I just thought about this, it's cutthroat with the fan base. It is. And again, that's not the entire fan base. I hate to, in this conversation, I always have to preface it by saying, I understand that it's not the entire fan base at all, or maybe even a large portion of the fan base. I don't think it is the case, but the idiots are always the loudest. And they're the ones that get seen, and they're the ones that people talk about. And I don't know, but just a word of caution to Buckeye fans. You don't know who's, reading through stuff on Twitter or reading stories or whatnot, or maybe even have a relationship with these guys from campus visits, and they're sharing stories about, like, yeah, this is what, some Ohio State fan said to me in my DMs after, this performance or whatnot. So how that impacts, kids moving forward on the recruiting trail, you'll never know. You'll never know if, if a kid said, I just don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to sign up for that. So just,
Yeah, no, it sucks, man. It sucks. And that's the part of social media that just sucks. But what I do enjoy on the show is to kind of get to know the guys, man. I like to bring them up. I like to bring them on for interviews. Like, I just enjoy that part of it. I think that, people who really love Ohio State like to get to know the fellas a little more on a deeper level. And I love hearing those kind of sound bites, like just a real human emotion. I think it's pretty cool. And that's not the first time I've heard him tell a really interesting story. One time it was about talking somebody else out of transferring, and he was saying how he felt like he might want to transfer earlier on, and the tough times he went through. That's just a real dude, man. And I'm just really rooting for him really hard. And anyway, but hate to end it on a negative note, obviously. The Ohio State fan base is the best in the world, of course, but there are definitely some idiots. And like you said, they are the loudest. So there it is. But Dillon, thank you so much for joining us again on a Thursday. We will get together. Are you going to get any access to that Saturday mock game? Hell no.
that thing would be the most, closed down, shut off thing that you could imagine, because that's the closest to the real deal as it gets. I mean, it'll be exactly what it is, a mock game. They'll be going through everything and whatnot. So I wish, but definitely not. The next time we'll see anybody from that program, it'll be game week. It'll be Tuesday for Ryan's presser. So
rock and roll. All right, buddy. We'll talk to you then.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Take care, buddy.
You as well.
Dillon's always great, and Dillon is going to be joining us every week on the post-game show. I'm going to come on late in the fourth quarter. Dillon's going to go to the press conference after the game, hear what Ryan Day has to say, and then he's going to pop on in the post-game show, fill us in on what went down in the press conference, and that's excellent, man. That's really cool. I love watching those press conferences, and I was kind of bummed that I wasn't going to get to watch them because I'm going to be on the air, but Dillon said that he's going to come on every week, so that's fantastic, and shout out to him. He's the best. A lot of people lump the beat in together and criticize the beat for this, the beat for that. And while it's true, there are some members of the beat who are guilty of what people accuse them of: carrying water for the program, being the PR wing of the program, downplaying when there's a problem. It's true. There are some. There are also some excellent ones, more excellent ones, well, more good ones than ones that are like that. And Dillon is one of the very best. Dillon is an old school journalist and that he takes an adversarial role with his subject on the beat, which is what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to be buddies. You're not supposed to be pals. You're there to get information, and you're supposed to take an adversarial tone, not a rude tone, but adversarial to challenge your subject. And he does that. And that's why I like him so much. And that's why I love having him on. And you will see as we move on throughout the season exactly what I mean by the tone he takes with them. He challenges them for answers. And that's what gravitated me towards him in the first place. I wish nothing but the best for that guy. And I hope that he absolutely takes off. So thanks to Dillon. Erin Dunston was a bigger part of the program than I thought she was when she originally left. Erin Dunston, the director of recruiting and special events, her job description was to basically set up all the official visits. She was also like the creative director of all the official visits. She helped with the social media team. That awesome room that we saw from the official visits, the one with the paneling and the old Buckeye stuff where all the pictures were coming out of for the OVs, and then the newspaper room. Erin Dunston did all that. She played a big role. She was a really big part of the organization. I did not think so when she left. I kind of shrugged it off like it was no big deal. It certainly was a pretty big deal, and it was especially a big deal based on the time that she left, right in the middle of OVs. She left, took off up north where her sister is the basketball coach, got a promotion. You can certainly understand why someone might have done that. She has no loyalty to Ohio State or the rivalry. It doesn't mean anything to her. She's not from Ohio. But the timing, to me, a little Bush League, you just can't deny. It really is. When someone gives you a job and trusts you to do a job, to leave them when they need you most is Bush League. And that's just what it is to me. But Bucks got through it, and they have finally hired a replacement, and they found a great one. The Buckeyes have hired Morgan Phillips. Let me pull up a picture of Morgan here. Morgan Phillips was at Alabama under Nick Saban with Sam Petito. Sam Petito is basically now Mark Pantoni's right-hand man that the Buckeyes hired from Alabama and brought up. Morgan was at Alabama with Sam Petito, but the last 2 years she's been at LSU under Brian Kelly's regime and basically done a similar job to what Erin Dunston was doing down there. And they've done a hell of a job recruiting, a top 10 class last year, on pace for a top 5 class this year. And some people pointing out or saying, I hope she's not responsible for this. This is the infamous leak that came out of the OVs last year at LSU. Brian Kelly on the twirling deal there, doing this dancing bit. Horrible. Absolutely horrible. That's such a tough look for Kelly, man. That guy has so many embarrassing clips online from the way he left Notre Dame. That clip's online. Him saying goodbye to them in all of like 30 seconds after being there for so long. The fake Southern accent when he first got the job at LSU. And now that thing, I mean, just terrible. So listen, she's awesome. I feel really good about this. And you cannot understate how important it is that we now have so much influence from Alabama and LSU, Mississippi in recruiting now, with her working at LSU and Alabama, Sam Petito being at Alabama for a long time from Louisiana, Alan Clark, Larry Johnson's assistant, being from Louisiana, from Baton Rouge. Who else? Carlos Lachlan being from Mississippi. I would love for everything to be all Ohio, but the truth is we need to have those people who are from there, who know how things operate down there, who have some connections to some of the kids down there, because we got to pull some guys from down there. And I think it's a great thing. Love the hire. And obviously a gorgeous young girl. So that always helps as well. That's just what it is. Michigan's #1 recruit in the class has been placed on flip watch by one Mr. Steve Wiltfong to none other than Auburn. Nate Marshall out of Chicago. This dude is a stud defensive lineman. When they signed him, I said, look, the guy's awesome. And he is. He's really awesome. And now potentially flipping out of the class to Auburn, and Hugh Freeze is on fire, as is the Auburn collective. These guys are doing the damn thing, man. Absolutely doing the thing. Let's just hope that they don't do it with any of our fellas. Let's get to some comments. Kevin Barr says, still want to see more Ohio kids offered, and if that doesn't happen, changes will need to be made. The good news is I think that they are understanding that. The thing is, as more and more of these Ohio commits are becoming national recruits, and they are more apt to go take visits elsewhere, far away, and commit somewhere else, far away, the slow playing of Ohio kids is a strategy that you just really can't do so much anymore. But the good news is going to 105 means that they will be able to stop slow playing so many Ohio kids naturally. And that's going to take care of a lot of that, because what you want most when you go to 105 are guys who understand that they need 3 years of development in the program. They want to go to Ohio State. They want that offer, and they're perfectly fine with going there, being part of that, developing 3 years, and then getting their shot, instead of guys who are mid to high 4 stars who are going to come in thinking, they're going to play in year 2. And when they don't, they're looking elsewhere. So naturally, I think we're going to see that happen. But there are definitely some positions that we see it happen more than others. There's also some positions that are more bountiful with talent in Ohio. Running back, offensive line, linebacker, positions we traditionally have a lot more of. Usually we don't have a ton of stud cornerbacks who are up to the level of where Ohio State recruits at. Next year happens to be one, and Walt didn't slow play a thing. He jumped right on it, so good on him. But I think we're going to see more, and I hope that we do. Stop the cap, Juck. Day heads to the NFL. You and the Bucknuts Nation would hire him back with open arms, especially if we're a playoff team. Okay, that's a Notre Dame fan, and he is saying that if Day headed to the NFL, we would welcome Marcus back with open arms. He would have to apologize, but I believe at that point he would. There's got to be some kind of rift, and I got a lot of comments about this. Blayberg 101 says, Juck, you're being so damn disingenuous, it's unbelievable. He is speaking about the learning environment at the present time. Carpenter went to school when online class was not a thing. However, at Ohio State now, the players certainly do take online courses, as do every other football school. Don't even put Ohio State in the same category as Notre Dame in education. It's embarrassing. I think you're misunderstanding my entire point. My entire point is Marcus is taking shots at who? Not Alabama, not Michigan, not anybody. He's taking shots at Ohio State consistently. 3 clips right there. Ohio State, like get Ohio State's name out of your mouth. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've got all these other schools to compare, to take shots at, and you keep bringing up your alma mater. Why? That's my irritation. My buddy Dago says, hey, Marcus, I have one question. Where's your degree from, sir? Oh, okay. The Ohio State, right? Yeah. FOH, bro. I know what FOH means. I'm hip to the streets. All right, guys, a couple of clips, and then we're going to get out of here. We have got a couple of stud 5-star receivers, one from the class of 2025, Jerome Miles, in some action this week in a sick touchdown catch. That's our dude from Utah. Jerome made the freaks list, number 4 on the freaks list, and then we've got our dude Chris Henry Jr. out at Mater Dei, playing absolute bully ball and talking that junk. Look at the lights. Mater Dei's got those lights at the stadium. We don't even have those at the shoe. So, wow, that's impressive. All right, before we get out of here, I have got one more treat for you guys. My buddy Mello. Mello supported the show for a long time, supports all the Ohio State shows, always in the chat. I'm sure you guys have seen him. And he and Devin, Ohio 7715, another guy who always supports all the Buckeye shows, have started a podcast called the Buckeye Boys. And I had Mello on to do a little spot with me. Do check out Buckeye Boys on the OHIO podcast. And here is our guy Mello from Buckeye Boys. All right. And joining me now, a longtime supporter of Juckonbucks, a Juckeye indeed, my man Mello, who makes up one half of the new Buckeye Boys podcast, along with our buddy Devin. And he is airing that on the OHIO podcast show. Well, it's their own show on that network. And they're doing a fantastic job. 2 episodes in. Check those guys out. They're kicking butt. Mello, thanks for joining me tonight, buddy.
Thank you for having me, Juck. I appreciate all the support you've given Buckeye Boys and the Ohio podcast. And I'm happy to be here finally. I've watched you for so long, man. I enjoy your content. I enjoy everything that you do. And I'm a proud Juckeye. I'll be the first to say it.
All right, Mello. So the last couple of days, your first 2 episodes on the show, Buckeye Boys, you guys have gone over offense and defense of the class of 2025. Just in the last few days, we have seen 4 potential flip risks that they're saying everybody should be on the lookout for. I wanted to get your opinion on them. I got some strong ones on a couple of them. Yep. The first one would be Jarquez Carter. Obviously lives right next to Gainesville, has been on the campus of Florida 10 times. And he even went and visited Florida after he committed. There are some people who think that we should be concerned about him potentially flipping. I asked him about that visit that he took after he committed, and he said he was just going to have fun. He's got some friends around the area. He seems pretty dialed into Ohio State to me. I'm not concerned about it. What's your take?
I'm not too concerned about that one as well. The only reason I feel that way is because of the state of both programs. UF is not doing well. More than likely, they're going to be going to a new head coach, and who wants to join an unstable situation? He's not. So I think he sticks.
Okay. The second one, TJ Alford, and people have been talking about this forever. Obviously, we know his dad is a big Miami fan, and that was a lot of the reason a lot of people didn't think he was going to choose Miami. They wanted him to stay down there. They wanted him to go to Miami. Again, another one I'm bullish on. I think he is absolutely enamored with James Laurinaitis, and I just I don't see it. He told me that on the show, it's his extended family who are the ones who are kind of pressuring him to stay down. It's not his immediate family. Extended family, that's aunts, uncles, cousins. I think he ends up at Ohio State. I don't think it's something we need to worry about either.
Absolutely. Same here. James Laurinaitis is just a supernova. He's a rocket ship. And I mean, it's him and Riley Pettijohn and Eli Lee. They got one of the best threesome of linebacker commits in the entire country. I don't see any reason of him leaving, and he keeps posting a lot of Buckeye stuff. I know we can't always read into that, but you only have so many tea leaves you could pull on.
Right on. Okay. Here's one I'm a little more concerned about. That's Zahir Mathis. Now, we know that Zahir hasn't been on the Ohio State campus much. He's been on the Penn State campus more, closer to Penn State, has teammates from Imhotep, his high school, who go to Penn State. This is one that I'm kind of getting towards maybe a coin flip as to whether or not he ends up at Ohio State or Penn State. What's your take on him?
I think the reason we're behind the 8 ball is the people that are around him. They're heavily involved with Penn State. They love Penn State. They're more willing to get him to Penn State. And when you have to rely on someone else, I mean, it's hard to defeat that. So I'd say 50-50. I'm cautiously optimistic that he sticks, but we'll see. That's one to watch.
All right. Now, the one that I don't want to say I'm most scared about, right? But the one who is just the biggest impact player, obviously, is Naim Offord. And he spent a lot of time on the Alabama campus, and then it kind of switched to Auburn. Neither of those worried me at the time. I was always worried that if he was going to flip, potentially, it would be to Oregon. And now we're hearing that he is going to be at the Ohio State-Oregon game, which, boy, buddy, it ups the stakes even more. He's going to be at that game on the Oregon sideline wearing some Oregon Duck gear with Dan Lanning and his dudes. And it's concerning. What's your take?
I hope he's not in Oregon gear. I hope he's in Ohio State gear, and he's over there telling Dorian Brew, come on home, bring it home to Ohio State, come be a part of a great trio. I feel with Naim Offord, the same as Devin Sanchez, it's similar to how I feel with Chris Henry and Jeremiah Smith. It's the long game. You're going to have to recruit them through the entire process. But as long as OG Walt is here and Brian Hartline's here, they're going to stay. And it will help to do belt to ass, like Devin Sanchez said.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely feel like, much like TJ Alford with James Laurinaitis, Naim Offord has a real admiration for Walt, and he really wants to play for him. Oregon, obviously, we have seen this cycle in particular, and in last cycle too, their recruiting has gone from really good to upper echelon, top echelon of recruiting. They have beaten a lot of big dogs in many head-to-head battles, and we know they got the financial support and the financial backing, but they're also doing some excellent marketing. They're making themselves cool to the players, and they've done this for years now. They just seem to be doing it better than everybody else. And you had some thoughts on this that you wanted to share.
Absolutely. So the one thing that has me wondering about the state of our program is, as you watch, Oregon is doing a hard knocks type of behind the scenes with their summer and fall camps. And I'm just sitting here wondering, why don't we do that? Because you're trying to attract 18-year-old kids and 17-year-old kids. And to me, that stuff looks good. And I'm almost 40. So I can imagine what a 17 and 18-year-old is going to think. And I think with the financial backing that they have, Dan Lanning, I think he's going to be a problem for a very long time. And what we're doing, and keep winning ultimately is great, and keep sending people to the NFL. But why can't we do it? This would have been the perfect year for a hard knock.
Oh, it would have been fantastic.
Yeah. So I feel like we're letting stuff slip in the process of the recruiting world. And what's your thoughts about it?
Well, Notre Dame now is doing one too, and Notre Dame has done one of these before. But when you talk about these guys, listen, if they've got the money, right? And then they're doing the image thing great, and then they're doing the marketing thing great. You'd like to be able to step into one of those categories and say, okay, we can own this. And, I would definitely like to see Ohio State do a little more of the media stuff. I'd certainly love to see one of those Hard Knocks things. And wow, this year, we already know that the Buckeyes are going to be like traveling rock stars. The attention the team's got. What a great year. You're right. And what a great year it would have been to capture a lot of the young people as we head into the next couple of cycles, letting them see Quinshawn and JJ behind the scenes. It would have been a great year. But Oregon's staying ahead of all this stuff. They're setting the tone on it. It's working. We heard Will Stein, the offensive coordinator, said, I go into places and all these kids say, when I was a kid, outside of their hometown team, my favorite team was Oregon. He said that's what they're all saying. I'd like to take that mantle over.
Absolutely. They have the cool jerseys, so the kids love that. The only thing I ask is if we see those ducks in the river in Eugene and you're an Ohio State fan, go ahead and get rid of that thing. No, I'm just joking. Don't do anything to get arrested. But if you do decide to do it, make sure you record it and send it to Juck so he can post it on his channel. That would be some awesome content. But I still think that Ohio State could still make an opportunity out of this. They could follow the team from game to game throughout the season and maybe release something later down the road.
They absolutely could. And we've seen the social media team has done an incredible job all off season for the first time, really. Like, they're stepping it up big time. All the stuff they're doing with the guys, the black stripes, everything they're doing is really, really good. Right. I would definitely like to see some more of what you're talking about. Heading into this season, a lot of people are calling it a 3-game season. Obviously, we got the 3 big ones against Penn State, the team up north, and out at Oregon. Out at Oregon's the first one, and I was feeling a little nervous about this one. I felt like it could go either way. That was when I still had a few more questions about how the offense was going to work with Will Howard at the helm, how the offensive line was going to perform. Recently, I'm feeling quite a bit better about both of those question marks that I had previously. as well as linebacker. Now I feel very confident in that game. I think we're going to go out and win that game. What are your thoughts on that one?
In terms of Oregon, I think we're going to win. I'm not as confident as my co-host Devin thinks we're going to beat them by 14 plus. I think it's going to be a lot closer. I think max I'll give a 7-point spread. I think with them, I watched their spring game 4 times. A lot of what they're doing, and I watched the Washington game, both of them twice now. A lot of what they're doing is quick game, get the ball out quick, and get speed and space. So I think Chip's scheme is going to shock and surprise a lot of people. And by then, Optimus Prime, which is my nickname for J.J. Smith, is going to let the world know who he is.
Absolutely. I said actually earlier in the show, you haven't seen it yet, but I think that the big story throughout college football for the first half of the season is going to be the rest of the country recognizing that the J.J. Smith stuff wasn't just hype. It's going to be big, man. It's going to be real big. Like, we think it's been big up to now. When the rest of them realize it, we're even going to get sick of it. We're going to hear so much of it on the national shows. But
can't wait for it.
Yeah, the Penn State game, they got the new offensive coordinator, Andy Kolenicki. They got Drew Aller. Some people think he's going to take a turn. They don't really have the wide receiver talent. I just don't see them being able to score on us, to be honest. I'm not too concerned about the Penn State game.
Same here. Zach Smith put it out there that someone told him that our wide receiver ran a 4.77 when he got there, Julian Fleming.
Ouch.
That's tight end speed, not wide receiver speed. And he's wide receiver 1 for them. I'm not a big time believer in Drew Aller. So I think we beat them by 14.
I feel like I'm with you there. I got a soft spot for Drew Aller. He's right down the street from me here. And I don't know. I watched him a lot in high school. I kind of root for him. That press conference after the game last year where he just owned it so much. And it hit me right here, man. He's a really good kid, good family, Ohio boy. I mean, obviously, I don't want him to win the Big Ten or do good against us, but, I do hope he turns the corner a little bit. But
absolutely,
the big game, obviously, this is going to be the biggest version of the game I think we've had in so long. When you look at all the circumstances surrounding it, everything last year, them getting a new coach and thinking they're not going to skip a beat. The record that they're going to have going into that game, we have no idea yet. I think a lot of people are starting to come around and feel a little more optimistic on their end that they're going to be able to beat Texas heading into that. They like their odds against Oregon at home. I'm hearing them say now. I don't know. It could go either way for me. It's like I wouldn't be too terribly surprised if they were running the ball great and obviously playing great defense and pulled off a couple of those upsets. I also wouldn't be surprised if it looked incredibly clunky and they not only lost against Oregon and Texas, but maybe even dropped one at Washington or somewhere along the way that you wouldn't even suspect that they would lose. Either way, I'm not going to be surprised, but I know that they're going to be there when we show up. However, I think this team, we got some machine, and I feel like we're going to roll right through them.
I feel that when you're 127th out of 134 teams in returning production, that's a lot to overcome. You're returning one starter on offense, Colson Loveland, who I feel like Sonny is going to completely take out of the game. And then you're very thin on defense. Yes, your starting defense is very good, but if you get any little injury, you don't have depth. I watched the Big Ten Network yesterday when they went to Michigan and they interviewed Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham, and they flat out said our starting 11 is elite, but we're working on building depth because we don't have much behind it. They said that out of their mouth. So that gave me the confidence with everything that's going on and what we have going on and Ryan Day's anger towards that program. I think it's going to be a bludgeoning. It's going to be
great. It's going to be great. But that week heading into that, man, that's going to be one nerve-wracking week. I don't know how you are that week, but it's a terrible week for me. I'm just a ball of nerves.
Honestly, I'm good until the day of. Like the day of, I always throw up before the game, even when we're like phenomenal.
Yeah,
It just
people
gives me
talk
so
about wanting to
nervous.
play it at night, right? Wanting to play it under the lights, and I get it. It would be really cool. But that game, that day of game day, like just getting to noon seems like so long to me. It seems like a whole day just getting to noon because I'm such a ball of nerves. Waiting till the evening for that sucker, man, I don't know if I could do it. Mello, when is the next episode of Buckeye Boys, buddy?
Next Wednesday, 6 p.m., and we're going to be talking about more than recruiting this time. We're going to be talking about this upcoming Natty season and our wishes and our hopes and our dreams.
Can't wait, man. You guys are doing great. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Shout out to all the Juckeyes out there in the Ohio podcast.
All right, brother. Have a good night.
You too, brother.
And thanks to Mello for joining me. Buckeye Boys on the OHIO podcast. Please check them out. Thanks to you guys for watching. Please check me out in podcast format. Like and subscribe. And we've got these sweet shirts from Columbus Apparel Company that will be on their website pretty soon. We also got some Juckonbucks ones, but I wanted to show you guys the Juckeye ones that are going out to our members. I love them, and I'm going to make these available to everybody else too. Pretty slick shirt. Absolutely love it. Thanks to Columbus Apparel Co. You guys are the best, and you guys are the best. Have a great day. Talk to you guys soon. Juckonbucks out.